Moving to failure every week. That's all.
Yeah. All right, what's up, everybody?
What's going on, y'all?
We are back for episode 6 of Mental Radar.
Once again.
Once again, my name is Keith McLeod.
Jacob Chavis.
And yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started for you guys. So, today's episode is, I'm excited about it. It's called Mental Transmutation. And one thing I do want to say is, if you didn't see last week's episode, you know, I would definitely check it out again after you watch this one. They are very tightly connected. But, you know, you don't need to see that one to watch this one, but they are going to be, you know, tightly connected. So how's everybody doing out there? I'm going to go ahead and hop on so I can respond to your comments.
Hope y'all doing good, man. We got another interesting topic for y'all this week. I feel like this topic could bring illumination, you know, to a lot of people. It could kind of focus your thoughts. It could kind of get you to, you know, understand how to better interact with your thoughts. So let's get it talking, man.
Yeah. All right. So go ahead and start out with my question. So what is your definition of mental transmutation?
Well, mental transmutation would be the aspect or art of altering your thoughts or altering your mental processes from one thing to another in order to achieve different results in your life, or in order to interact with your reality differently. You know, like basically in layman's terms, changing your thoughts to change what's happening in your life. You know, that's pretty much what that is.
All right. So yeah, my definition of mental transmutation is pretty much it's the path from, like I said, we were talking about polarity. So the path from one pole to another, or actually the process of transforming your thoughts from something that may not be productive or helpful in your life into something that really can be life-changing or makes you happy or help you find true joy, or vice versa. You can go either way. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All day.
Yeah, so I do want to kind of touch on, because I know it's an interesting name for a topic, so I just want to give a good example that I feel like makes it more understandable. So if you talk about polarity, right, let's compare it to a pendulum swinging, okay? So if you got a pendulum, there's two sides. You got this side, you got that side. The pendulum swinging in between, those are your thoughts, okay? Now, if you look at the force that pushes the thought to one side or the other side of the pole, that's how I would define what the mental transmutation is. Okay, so it's the energy behind which pole your thoughts shift to. All right? How about yourself?
Yeah, man. Far as an example, like a real life example of mental transmutation, I feel like we could get into the placebo effect, right?
Okay.
So the placebo effect is basically there were a host of experiments done where scientists would gather a control group and give them, you know, actual medication, people that were suffering from ailments and things of that nature, would give them actual medication, and then there was a variable group where they would just give a placebo to, you know, like a sugar pill that had zero medication in it at all, right? And there were people in the variable group who received the placebo who actually experienced relief from certain symptoms of the ailments that they were going through because their mind perceived the placebo to be medicine, right? So their thoughts were affected and their thoughts altered their reality. You understand what I'm saying? Like in a physical sense. That is a real life example of mental transmutation.
Okay. That's really deep.
That's deep. It's deep stuff, man. It gets deep.
Yeah. So, just to take it back a little bit, how do you relate that to polarity?
So, in terms of polarity, you know, when you're talking about shifting from one side to the other, or you're talking about, you know, how opposites or things that are not necessarily on the same side of the spectrum can relate to one movement or one emotion. Like mental transmutation in regard to that is basically affecting, like consciously affecting the transition from one side to another.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, you're doing that on a conscious level, right? And that can have amazing results in your life.
Okay. All right. So about those results. So why would you say that mental transmutation is important?
I would say that it's important because, honestly, our mind controls how we interact with reality, no matter which way you slice it. You know, that's why people can have completely different interpretations of one thing that happened. This thing did not change. It did not happen a different way, but people interpret it differently.
Right.
Your interpretation of what's going on around you has a lot to do with your ability to deal with it, your ability to get through it, your ability to move through obstacles, your ability to produce your best self. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why mental transmutation is so important, because if your thoughts are not in alignment with the movement that you're trying to achieve in life, then you have to undergo that process of mental transmutation in order to get the results that you want in life.
Absolutely.
You know, that's why it's important.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say is that takes us back to one of the basic principles of making sure that you set goals for yourself. And that's why it's so important to set goals, because if you don't have goals set up and you got all of this happening within your subconscious mind, how do you know what it's going to become? Because mental transmutation is going to take place one way or another. So it's your job to decide that you're going to get in front of it, and that you're going to control it, and that you're going to make it what you want it to be. Right?
100%.
Yeah, so it's very important to set goals. It's very important to understand these processes. You know, a lot of times we look at life as just, you know, our day-to-day process, what goes on in the physical realm. And sometimes people don't realize that so much happens in the spiritual realm as well. You know, we live in the spiritual world. But, you know, I don't want to go too far off the topic there.
I just want to touch on something that you said real quick, and then we can move forward, right?
Sure.
So, when you said that mental transmutation is going to happen either way you slice it,
Right.
whether you get in front of it or not,
Right.
That's powerful. That's very strong, because when you think about how integral the mind is as it pertains to affecting and impacting your movement through life, and then you think about all of the exterior influences that can control the mind, that's why it's important to get in front of it, because you have so many things out here that can control how your mind operates, how your mind functions, how your mind, you know, processes information and absorbs the things that are happening around you. You don't get in front of it, something else is going to get in front of it.
Exactly. And if you think about modern media, that's what it's designed to do. A lot of the commercials, a lot of the things you say, or that you see rather, they're put in place to control your mental transmutation. You know, it's specifically put there. You think about, well, what do people like to hear? Even, you know, the tone of the voice, the tonality, pretty much everything. That's why people get paid so much to do marketing. Everything that goes into it is designed to go into your mind. So they take the time, they take the energy, and they put their best effort forth to take control of your thoughts. So that's why, like I said, it's important to set goals and make sure you're in control of your thoughts. And really, it's about, I wasn't even going to bring it here, but really taking control of your will as well. Because if you have the will to move forward and to understand what it takes to control these things, you got a much better chance of really going where you want to go. Okay? So, yeah.
All day.
Absolutely. So, talk about why it's important. So, I guess, give me a real life example of you experiencing mental transmutation, whether it be good or bad.
So, I'm glad you said that, man, because that takes me back to a time in life where literally overnight I made a transition from one state of being to a completely different condition of existence, right?
Okay.
In one night, all because of an alteration in my perception of how I'm moving through this existence. It was crazy. So I used to be a very lazy person. It was crazy. Like a lot of people wouldn't even.
Yeah, it don't sound like you.
Right, it don't sound like me, but honestly, it was me. Like, I was really that guy that was never motivated. I was never inspired. I was never, like energized and invigorated to do anything. But in the course of one night, I had an experience where I saw a man that was homeless. He was completely homeless, completely had nothing, and in the course of 2 months, he became a 6-figure earner. 2 months.
Wow.
Went from homeless. I used to give this man money, bro. I used to drive past this man on the street and give him money, and in the course of 2 months, probably a little bit more than 2 months. It was let's say 3 months. It was closer to 3 months. In the course of 3 months, this man he went from homeless to being a 6-figure earner, and it was all about a change in perspective for him. It was all about a change in his understanding of how he should move forward, right? And when I observed that situation, I said, man, it's got to be better out here for me. I said, I got to be able to do something different than what I'm doing now. And my process of thought, like my movement through thought, literally changed that night. And the next day, I was a different person. Like the next day, I was like, you know what? It's time to stop playing. It's time to stop, wasting my time here. I was put here for a reason. I feel like I have purpose. My whole thought process altered. And I started making movement in that one night.
Wow,
that's a real life example of how mental transmutation can literally affect your movement and how you move and everything that you're trying to accomplish.
That's powerful.
It's crazy.
So tell me, in that transition, how did your life change? Like, what are some specific things that you just remember being different the next day?
So I remember, I don't want to say that I was dealing with depression, because I don't think it was depression. I never actually went and was diagnosed with depression.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say it was depression, but I'm going to say it was a very low state of emotional and energetic existence.
Okay.
Right? Literally in that one night, I started to understand and I started to visualize how much more I could be doing and how much more I could have as a result of doing more. And once I really began to connect intricately with that level of thought, it changed my entire perspective. And I remember feeling vital. I remember feeling invigorated. I remember, literally feeling the vitality come back.
Okay.
That was gone before. It was literally a difference in how I felt on an energetic level, on an emotional level, on a mental level in one night.
That's very powerful, man.
Very powerful stuff.
Yeah. I mean, if I was to speak on my own experience, I'll talk about the whole process of me actually coming up with the idea for Life Changes and starting it. A lot of people don't know that it's something that's been on my heart for a very, very long time. I remember when it happened. It was probably 12 years ago. And my life went through a major transition in regards to who I was surrounding myself with, the people I was spending my time with, and the people I was looking up to. It was when I actually really believed, I can be different than what I am. There's more for me. And here's the proof. Meeting people that came from a similar background or a similar situation to mine and seeing them excel past the status quo or become more than they were expected to become. It really inspired me. And, I started making changes. I never forget, I went to the gym. First of all, I never even went to the gym back in the day, not in high school. Even when I took weight training, there wasn't no weights being trained. We was just chilling in school. But, so I remember, going to the gym. I remember the first time I got on the treadmill, and I was just I probably was on there for 2 minutes. And I got off, I was like, ooh. And my homie looked at me you tripping. You're supposed to be on there for 30 minutes. I was like, what? 30 minutes. But I didn't know. And, so I remember after that going to the bench press and lifting weights, and then the idea just came to my mind life changes. It was something I was supposed to do. I was supposed to help people. I didn't know exactly how I was going to do it, but shortly later, that's when I actually started the car dealership with my partner. And at that point, we weren't changing lives. So it still was aligned with my path. I just hadn't chosen how I wanted to happen. So the transmutation happened for me. And it put me in a position to build some skills and to build some relationships and to meet some people that I would need to propel me to the next level of my life. So I didn't necessarily know what I was doing, so I wasn't fully in control, but I was in control to know that I wanted different, and I got there.
Right.
Okay? So if we fast forward past it, I still put life changes on the back burner for the next 10 years while I was doing different things, building different businesses, working different jobs, whatever it was I was doing with my time. But it came to a point where at the beginning of this year, it just happened where, someone spoke life into me. And at that point, everything changed.
Yeah.
Like, my mental was literally transformed into, okay, I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be doing something amazing, and it's time to do it. And just like that, it was born. So everything happened.
So let me touch on that real quick, right? Let me ask y'all a question, right? The viewers. Why do y'all think people invest so much money into motivational and inspirational workshops?
That's a good question. Y'all can answer on Instagram too. I can see it.
Please actually answer the question. I would love for y'all to, I would love the correspondence. Like, I would love for y'all to answer the question, because these workshops are vital and integral in changing your perspective. That is the job of the person who is up on that stage, okay, who is delivering the message, who is seeking to inspire you, seeking to ignite a fire in your spirit. It is their job to alter your perspective in order to alter your movement through life. That's why they get paid.
You know what's interesting?
Mental transmutation.
You didn't even know this, but that was the next part of my story.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I went to a workshop. It was actually, well, I'm not going to say it, but it's a very popular author. Held a workshop for free in Baltimore. And it was around the time when gas went real crazy. Gas was first reaching $4. Like right around the recession, actually. And I remember one thing specifically, because obviously the first event was free, but they were there to sell bigger events that were not free.
Right.
And the first event that he wanted to sell, or not even that he wanted to sell, the next event in their process was a $500 course. It was a weekend, 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all day, and it was $500. And then I remember they were saying, like, what they basically said, if you worry about the price of gas, something is truly wrong with your life. And I felt that. Like, I was like, man, you're right. If I'm worried about the price of gas, something's truly wrong with my life.
That's
so,
true.
mind you, I still try to get out of there, because my old thought process wouldn't allow me to understand that I should spend money on this. I tried to get out of there. And then the guy stopped me. He said, where are you going? You ready to change your life? He literally looked me in my eyes and said, are you ready to change your life? I was like, yeah. He's like, come on, come back. What's holding you back? $500? Come on. So then they did a special where you could bring someone with you so it would be $250 per person. Now, my partner actually didn't have the money. So it was still me coming up $500. But I was like, well, man, at least, we was kind of ride or die. And it was like, well, at least if we go, like, I'll have somebody with me, and, we'll have at least this to talk about. This is experience. And I had read a book that said, it's not how much does it cost, what is your investment is the question you should ask. So, not regretfully, but I wasn't trying to do it, but they ended up signing me up for the course. And once I went to that weekend, my life was forever different.
Yeah.
Forever. I came back, and that's really what transformed me.
And it's like, sometimes you don't realize how powerful these events can be until you go to one. A lot of people just sit and be like, man, these guys are just going to get up there and they're going to talk and they're going to try to do this and try to do that. But you have to realize the level of proficiency that these guys have. These guys are paid. This is all they do. This is what they're paid to do.
Right.
The level of proficiency and the level of dedication these guys apply to their craft is phenomenal. And when you go to these events, man, especially big ticket keynote speakers, when you go to these events, man, it's so powerful to be there. It's so powerful to just get out of your comfort zone and go do something different, and have that something different translate into a wealth of knowledge that you gain that can literally turn the tide of your life. It's so powerful. But literally, the purpose of being there is mental transmutation. That's why you're there.
Yeah.
So
Just to
that's
bring it back.
another real life example of like mental transmutation and how integral it is in changing the course of our lives.
So, have you ever witnessed it in another person?
Absolutely, absolutely. A good friend of mine that I grew up with went from working at Walmart and working at Target and working like small, nothing, no shade to Walmart workers. Let's just put that out there. No shade to work. But just not earning a lot of money and going from that to becoming a real estate professional, working for himself. Actually very popular now, and he's a rapper. He's a real estate professional. He has his own business. He's produced movies. Like, this dude is doing some crazy stuff, and it's all because of the change in his perspective. And I witnessed him grow. I witnessed him mature. I witnessed him develop, man, and it was beautiful to see it.
Yeah.
It was beautiful to see it.
Yeah.
And that's what I want for everybody that I can reach. Everybody that I can talk to, everybody that I can, just kind of give a different perspective to. Like, I want us all to grow, and to do better than what we're used to doing. Mental transmutation starts with the mind. Once you start here, everything else follows. This is the command center. Everything else has to follow suit with what the command center is creating.
Absolutely. I will give an example of that as well. I remember recommending a book to a good friend of mine, more so, not necessarily a mentee, but it was a person that saw the moves that I was making, me and my partner were making rather, and said, well, what are y'all doing? How do I get down with this? Basically, that was the question. And, we told him, well, read this book, do X, Y, Z, do this, that, do the third. And then just to watch it happen is crazy. Like, just to see the change in a person, just to feel.
Watch that level up.
Yeah, like feel the difference in their spirit. Like, to feel when a person may walk in the room before with, slouched over, to see them walk in like this and command the room, command energy, command control. It's really a powerful thing. And, it's something that's available for all of us. And a lot of us don't get that, especially in our culture. It's not how we were raised. And a lot of people that we look up to or respect, they look down on a lot of the things that would actually transform us in a positive way, in a way that's going to provide the most value to our existence here. But, we got to go against that as well. And, we have to choose us first, like I always say. And you have to lead with your heart and make sure that you're really locked into whatever you're trying to create. And a lot of times people always want to have everything figured out. You don't necessarily need to have the whole plan figured out. You just have to have the end in mind, and you have to know your first steps. If you start doing something, something will happen. That's one of my favorite quotes. Yeah, but so I don't want to get off topic there. So
Right.
So how would you say your process happened?
So I'm glad you said that, man, because I'm glad you said that because we can talk all day about what mental transmutation is. We can talk all day about what it does, how it benefits your life. But how do we gain control of it? And the question you just asked, what was my process?
Yep.
My process involved me doing things to actively gain control of how my mind operates, how my mind interprets the data and the stimuli that I experience, and how I interact with the things around me. I had to physically take control of that. But how do we do that? Right? One of the methods to take control of your mind is to practice stillness, to practice presence of thought. There's a lot of times where great thinkers will describe what they call as mental chatter or mental noise, or like basically all that is the mind creating things, thoughts, ideas, noise that doesn't necessarily relate or align with where we want to go.
Right.
taking control of that noise and silencing that noise was one of the things that I did in order to gain control. You have to practice presence. You have to practice stillness, is why one of the reasons why I endorse meditation.
Absolutely.
Because if you are not in control of your thoughts, then you are not in control of your life.
Say it again.
That is just what it is. If you can't control what you think, you can't control what you're doing. And there are so many people who can't control what happens in their mind. They are a passenger, okay, in the vehicle of their mind, instead of being the driver.
Right. I want to point out one of the comments. So someone said, so making sure you apply the law of neutralization to your daily life.
Okay.
You agree with that?
Oh. I probably know who that is that said that, but the law of neutralization, that's a beautiful thing. I would say that I could definitely agree with that. What do you think about it?
I think that that's very important because the law of neutralization is necessary, because when you look at laws, a lot of people don't realize that we live our life based on laws. Just like our natural life, if you don't follow the laws, you go to jail. Our spiritual life is kind of like that. If you don't follow the laws, you go to mental or spiritual jail. And although some laws, like the law of polarity, it can go either way, or like it can end up. Some laws do require us to go through negative experiences. I'll put it like that to keep it simple. But if you look at this law, like the law of neutralization, that is a law that's above the law that keeps you in that space of having to deal with negative things. So if you can understand that law and you can apply it to your daily life, you can actually overcome some of these processes that you would have to go through if you don't understand a higher way of thinking.
Right.
So just to keep it simple, that's what I'll say. I mean, I definitely think that it's an important law because it does neutralize laws that keep you on this end of the pendulum, and it allows you to spend more time on this end of the pendulum. Although it can't be completely negated, a lot of it can be overcome based on that law. So thanks for that comment.
Right. I would just say, man, look, simply don't allow yourself to be swayed or influenced. And that's a powerful thing to say, because so many things influence us, and so many things impact how we move. But gaining control over what has influence in your life.
Absolutely.
That's strong.
Yeah.
When you gain control over what influences you, that's the cheat code right there.
It's game over.
That's the cheat code right there. You gotta gain control over what you allow to impact you on a level that creates movement in your life. Because all movement ain't good movement.
Absolutely. It's not.
So if there's something that is causing you to move in a direction that you're not supposed to move, or that you don't want to move, change it. Transmute it. Transmute it.
Yeah, so one more thing I do want to say about mental transmutation is a lot of times when we first, I'm not sure how many of you guys have read like a personal development or a self-help book, they always say to, start thinking positive thoughts. But one thing that I do want to point out about this law is that you have to understand that in order to transmute something must already exist. Okay? So people don't really understand how important it is to identify your self-sabotaging thoughts and beliefs. Okay? Because if you look at, you can create all of these new thoughts. You definitely can do that. And you can start moving forward. But until you deal with the thoughts that keep you where you currently are, or held you where you were in the past, you'll never be able to get past it. So you can actually improve different areas of your life. Every law applies to a different area. But until you deal with that one law or that one thought that's just been holding you back all your life, all of this time, you'll never be able to move forward. Because you have to deal with yourself. You have to deal with the actual thought in order to transmute it. So you have to understand that. Like, I feel like that was an aha moment for me, so I wanted to share with you guys that although we can add new habits, we can add new ideas, we can add new thought patterns, we can do all of those things, but we have to deal with the negative thoughts first. And that's important, because if you leave it there, now you just got to mix. You know, if you think about it like a glass of water,
Right.
and you got a glass of mud, right?
Okay.
If you pour water in that mud, eventually that mud will pour out and the water will get clear. But in order to get rid of some of that mud, like, you would have to just throw some of it out if it was that bad. Some people aren't in that situation. Some people can just pour water in it and it can become clear. But if you got actual gunk, you gotta slap some of that stuff out. You know,
you gotta reach in there.
Yeah. You gotta make some space.
You gotta get it out of there. You gotta put more effort into it.
Yeah, you gotta make some space for the new. So if you have thoughts, negative thoughts that are really holding you back, that have really been self-sabotaging beliefs for the greater period of your life, we gotta deal with those.
Right.
We gotta identify them, and then we have to do the work in order to move it from negative to positive.
Let me tell you a quick little something that happened to me. Right. I was speaking to an associate of mine, right, who was dealing with, a little bit of difficulty when it comes to actually implementing some of these things, like actually changing their thought process. And they asked me a powerful question. They said, "How do you have positive thoughts? How am I to, if I'm a person who feels so negatively about so many things, how am I supposed to construct positive thoughts?"
Good question.
I said, well, this is a process known as mental checks. That's what I like to call it.
Okay.
Every thought, before you subscribe to the conditions of that thought, you have to put that thought through a process of a mental check. Some people just have thoughts and go with it.
True. And that's the worst thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like, some people will have a thought and be like, oh, well, I had this thought, so let me act on this thought, or let me operate based on the condition. No. Every thought you have, you need to undergo a process of mental check, a mental checklist that needs to be applied to every thought. When you have a thought, does this thought benefit me? Does this thought align with the movement that I'm trying to achieve in life? Does this thought teach me something? Does this thought allow me to facilitate the flow of emotions through my psyche? Does this thought do anything good for me? You need to put it through a check. If it doesn't do anything good for you, based on your analysis of that thought, then you need to discard it.
Absolutely. We can't have wasteful thinking. I like to call it wasteful versus wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Wasteful thinking is just what it's called. It's wasteful. It's a waste of thought power, waste of energy, waste of everything. There's nothing positive that can come from it. And a lot of times we create these realities that aren't necessarily real. It's in the future based on the thought that we may have had that may never happen. Probably never will happen. But if you transmute yourself into that process, you can create it, but it could have been avoided. And a lot of times we go through these things because we don't understand that we are the cause of it in a way. So we have to learn to rise above these limiting thoughts, identify the self-sabotaging beliefs, and just really take control of your thoughts. Like, take control of your mind. And I know that's a process. It's a difficult thing to do, but no reward unless the risk is taken, and it's definitely one of the most beneficial things you can ever do.
Sometimes you gotta simplify. Sometimes you just gotta, at the end of the day, you just gotta tell yourself, you know what? Forget all the nonsense. This is my mind. Forget all the nonsense. This is my mind. There's nothing gonna happen in my mind that doesn't go through my say-so. Period. That's what it is. Take control of your mind. It's yours. It doesn't belong to anybody but you. That means you have ownership. You have authority. Use that authority.
That's powerful. And it's important to say it out loud sometimes. You know, a lot of times saying things out loud, it really changes number one, it changes your energy. It's just like music. You know, just like the vibration of sound. I'm not going to go into that.
That's wait. That's a whole nother live like that.
Right.
We got to devote some time to that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, the sound of your voice, seeing yourself, your handwriting, just understanding you. It really is a process to understand you, to take control of you, and that's what you got to do. So, I know we're reaching our time, so I want to wrap it up. So I think you already gave advice on how they can, do that, correct?
Right.
Well, it's my turn to do that.
Mental check.
Yeah, so my advice for actually understanding and utilizing mental transmutation for your benefit is really just like I said, number one, get out a pen and pad and just write down your thoughts, write down how you're feeling. And like he said, meditate. You got to figure out what's going on. And you got to clear your mind. When you meditate, a lot of people like to say, when you pray, that's when you talk to God. When you meditate, that's God talking back. So clear your mind and meditate. Write down what's going on and decide if you want that or not. Because you really are in control of it. You can't control every event, but you can control the circumstances around those events. So you have to write down what's going on. You have to take the time to meditate. And then, like I said earlier, you got to write down your goals. And it's important, or one thing I like to do is I'll make my goals affirmations. And when you put it on paper, you put it on your fridge or wherever you want to hang it, take a look at it. And use this time to really visualize you becoming the person that you want to be. It may be hard at first. You might be used to thinking negative. You may not be at all familiar with this process. But like I said, if you do something, something will happen. So you got to start somewhere, and it starts with taking control of your will. So take the will. I don't know if y'all saw the movie. What was it? With the Dauntless Will. Did you see that? Hunger Games. It was the other one, Divergent.
Probably not.
You didn't see that? Well, it's a movie called Divergent, and they had
wait.
With the
Divergent?
Yeah, with factions.
Yeah, I think I did see that.
And then remember, one of the factions was Dauntless Will. Like,
yes.
They gave you a test to see where you are. But
yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, but you gotta have Dauntless Will, and it starts with just making a decision. Just like I feel like I say that every week, but you gotta make a decision and write down what's bothering you, identify what's bothering you, and focus on the complete opposite. Swing the pendulum from here to here. That's not gonna happen overnight, but it is a process that you participate in, and if you keep a journal or whatever you do, you'll see the process. You'll see yourself improve. Right. You want to say something?
I was just gonna say, build your blueprint, man. Like,
yeah.
This is the time where if you look at everything else in your life, everything else that you want to function properly, what do you do with it? You clean it.
Right.
What do you do with it? You maintain it. What do you do with it? You service it. Your car, for instance. You want your car to function properly, right? You service it. You take it, had an oil change, you take it for rotations, tire rotations, whatever the case may be. You want your home to function properly, what you do? You clean it.
Absolutely.
You maintenance it. You know what I'm saying? You want your job, what you do?
Yeah, absolutely.
You maintenance it. So my point is, everything in your life that you want to function properly, you have to maintenance it. You have to clean it. You have to purge it. You have to, attend to it. It's not something that's going to happen on its own. Your mind is no different.
Absolutely.
Your mind is no different at all.
Yeah.
Maintenance it. Tend to it. Service it. Service your mind. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Priorities and focus.
Priorities and focus. So like I said, that's my advice. Like I said, write down what's bothering you, meditate, take some time to get your mind clear, create your goals and affirmations, read them every day, focus on them every day, and follow your hunches. Do what your spirit is leading you to do. In a little bit of time, you'll be much further along than you realize. Have your end goal in mind. And yeah, I feel like, I want to go ahead and wrap it up there. You got anything else you want to say?
I feel like we touched on a good amount.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Hopefully, you guys got some value from this. If you enjoyed the video, definitely, share it, like it, comment, whatever you want to do. Tell your friends about it. We'll be back soon with another live. We should have a special guest next week, so that's going to be exciting. And yeah, follow Life Changers LLC on Instagram. It's life_changers_LLC. You got some amazing content to help you build up your mind, build up your brain, and get stronger. And yeah,
Y'all stay tuned. Eventually we're gonna start doing Q&As where we actually focus on nothing but attending to your questions or attending to your comments. Like I feel like it's important to really start that up as well.
absolutely.
So y'all stay tuned for that. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely answer any questions you guys might have. Thank you for being interactive, and you guys have a great night. We're gonna wrap it up.
Man, one love. Be good. Priorities and focus.